The US government has been generous in its spending. The deficits have expectedly grown to new heights as the pressure mounts. Today, we are watching everything rise. Except for wages, of course. It's a new world, one where reality has no involvement. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the second biggest stimulus in US history. It's happening right now, and most people haven't even realized it yet. Let's begin. This is right from the Treasury's own website. Remember that I always bring you the actual document itself. Okay? $666 billion worth of deficits happening right now. That's what has allowed this system to continue. Look at this. GOP Congress presides over the highest spending since Obama's stimulus. We are talking about the $840 billion stimulus law that was enacted in order to keep everything running. And this was done not with the intention of having the problems being fixed, but to allow business as usual, because they decided where the money will go. Now, where did they get $840 billion from? They said it. That was just a really big number. That's a quote. Looking at this, we noticed as time went on that it wasn't $840 billion. In fact, it was in the trillions of dollars. They went on and just spent whatever the hell they wanted to. Fiscal 2017 also saw the second highest real federal income tax totals of any year in US history, and the total federal tax revenues were the third highest in US history. More and more taxation is being applied to individuals. This is pervasive. In any nation, you see the same thing. Any city, any state or region, you'll always see this. More and more taxation, it puts more burden on the people. At the same time, the wages are not rising correspondingly, and as a result, they have less money. What do? They take on more debt. When you have assets that are rising, they can pull from that equity that they have seemed to gain, whether it's they take out a loan out of their own stocks to use to buy more things, or they do so with a home equity line of credit in real estate. This has become absolutely prevalent anywhere. The more taxation you apply to people, it does not benefit you even in the short term. It doesn't work because it's just a drop in the bucket compared to how much they actually owe. Look, if they're able to get $1 trillion in taxes, $1 trillion compared to the actual unfunded liabilities and everything else, it's not even a factor. That's how crazy this has become. Look at this. The federal spending was the highest since Obama's stimulus, and you could see that in this region here. We are seeing this escalating continuously. It's just going to keep going up on average. You could see that. I mean, look, since the 70s it's been going up. You know where it's going to head. And it can't continue to do this. There is this claim that as long as the population continues to grow, as long as more tax revenue comes in, you won't have a problem because you're going to have growth. But it's false growth, and false growth eventually shows its true face, as we saw during the financial crisis. We saw that during the housing crisis. They said, look, people need places to live, therefore we can continue to build homes. And then they realized that tens of millions of homes were left empty after the financial crisis. Why? More people need to move into homes, you told me. Well, that's not really the case because a lot of them were sitting empty, millions and millions of them. All right. The Congressional Budget Office said in January that it projects the federal debt will grow by $10 trillion over the next decade. And that's if everything continues to go well. That's not going to happen. This year, spending on so-called entitlement programs, okay, such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all grew, as did expenses incurred by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, which has faced heavy costs associated with the relief efforts there. There's more in here. They're trying to get some taxes, law passed and everything else. Doesn't matter. All you need to understand is that as time goes on, the situation gets worse. The spending gets increased. The debts get worse. The deficits, the money printing, the bailouts, and everything just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And as this goes on, you see this convergence, this squeeze that people feel. And they feel it every time they go to the store and they go buy something. They may use their credit card. They may pay the minimum on it. But in the long term, it's going to catch up to them. And many people feel that way. They can do different things, as I talked about with the home equity line of credits and other things. But it's inevitable. You have to feel the pain eventually. It's like an alcoholic that wakes up from a hangover and takes a few drinks, and all of a sudden he feels better, but it's just really covering over the problem. Look at this last article here. And some people like sports, some people like soap operas. I like reading this. This is my entertainment. Out of Market Watch. The stock market may never go down again. To me, this is entertainment. This gets me excited. I laugh at this. It's very, very humorous to me because you can see this going on in the financial media consistently. You see that pervasive in the financial advisors, investment analysts, and you'll see this in the general public. They don't believe it's going to go down. They have amnesia. They are goldfish. Maybe not such a far-fetched notion when you consider the Dow Industrials nailed its 50th record close of the year and paid a visit to the 23,000 milestone, which it looks to revisit and maybe stick to today. So this is from earlier, but it will cross 23,000. It could cross 24 and 25 and continue onward. There's no telling where it can go. But I've brought this up many times before. Even Warren, the insider Buffett, said the stupidest reason to buy something is because it has gone up. What in the world is happening right now with all of this insanity that's going on? It's just chasing the actions of the central banks. And you're basically putting your trust into the central banks. As soon as they pull liquidity out, which they've said that they're going to pull $1 trillion worth of liquidity out in the next 12 months, this will cause a potential downward spiral in the stock market if they actually do it. Who knows if they will. If they do so, it's obviously going to pull the system down, or at least begin. So, do you trust them? Well, many of you do. It's unfortunate. A lot of people have no fear, and that's okay. That's really what I've been seeing anyway. I mean, I see it every day of my life. So there's a lot of talk in here, but Kyle Bass has made some comments, and he's coming at this time of the 30th anniversary of Black Monday. If you look at all of the different constituencies of the market today, it resembles the portfolio insurance debacle of the 1987 on steroids. That's huge. Many people have shown the parallels to 1987 till today. What will it take to set off a stock market correction when a 4 or 5% decline in equities quickly morphs into a 10 or 15% decline? This is what you have to look for. That's what I've talked about before as well, how it only takes a trickle to then become a torrent. And this is what I would see to possibly happen. If they pull back on that $1 trillion in stimulus, or even half of that, that may just start a few percent of that decline, which can then spiral on. We'll see if it actually happens. There's a lot of talk and not a lot of actual action that occurs. It's a lot slower than whatever they claim to be. Let's see where it goes. I think that this is very key to watch. A lot of people don't like hearing the information simply because they have a lot riding on it. And I understand. You've worked hard for your money. You've invested the money, and you don't want to see that to go down the drain. I totally understand. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to tell anybody what to invest in or what not to invest in. I'm simply here to just bring out the facts, show them to you, and you decide for yourself. I get criticized and ridiculed and crucified all the time. That's okay, I don't really mind. It's just really heartbreaking to see every time that there is a market crash that average individuals who are the ones pulling in the last few years of that bull market are the ones that hurt the most. So that's all. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to support this channel, you can do so simply by giving me a thumbs up, by commenting on these videos, and by subscribing to this YouTube channel. We're approaching 70,000 subscribers. I want to say hello to each and every one of the new subscribers which have joined recently. Stay tuned for some interviews that I'm going to be doing with X22, with SGT, and with more. Just scheduling all of those now. So stay tuned for that. Take care.